Chapter 8 Historical Research. As used by the Greeks, history meant an inquiry designed to reconstruct past events, and in a sense, historical research can still be defined as a scholariate to discover what has happened. The basic purposes of historical research are to provide a clear perspective of the present and to facilitate planning for the future. Tosh and Lang refer to this as historical awareness, which is based on three principles: difference, context, and process. Chronology can be defined as simply the describing of events in the order of their occurrence, a process similar to the older concept of historical research. It represents the first step in the process of historical research and provides material or data for the steps to follow. Importance of historical research to librarianship. Busha and Harter indicate historical research can contribute to the body of knowledge about librarianship. It can increase our understanding of when and why past events occurred, and it can expand our appreciation. Types of historical research. Hillway identifies 6 different types of historical research or documentaricity. 1. Biographical research. 2. Histories of institutions and organizations. 3. The investigation of sources and influences. 4. Editing and translating historical documents. 5. Studying the history of ideas. And 6. Compiling bibliographies. Sources of historical information. First, official records. Second, newspapers and other periodicals. Third, eyewitness accounts of events. Fourth, archives. Fifth, manuscripts, and many more. Evaluation of historical sources. There are 2 basic processes of the last criterion competency. First is external criticism, or the gathering of external evidence, is done to determine if a source in fact provides authentic primary data and may be used interchangeably with textual criticism. Internal criticism is generally more challenging than external criticism, and it too is often difficult, if not impossible, to achieve with absolute certainty. The researcher should then confirm the validity and reliability of its contents. He or she is concerned, at this point, with what the source says. Basic steps of historical research. 1. Identification of a problem of historical significance. 2. Collection of background information. 3. Formulation of a hypothesis when possible. 4. Gathering of evidence or data. 5. Organization and analysis of the pertinent data. 6. Interpretation of the findings or the drawing of conclusions. Library history. Shiflett defines library history as a rubric that covers a myriad of topics associated with libraries and other information systems. As to the future of library history, there continues to be a need for more historical research that considers libraries and other information systems in broad contexts. Bibliographical research that takes the form of descriptive bibliography certainly comes closer to being true research than does systematic or enumerative bibliography. There is no question, however, that both types of bibliographical work are important scholarly endeavors which, at the very least, support the work of true researchers or historians. Persons involved in the compilation of systematic or enumerative bibliographies are concerned with the book and other materials as an intellectual entity. 4 main types of systematic bibliographies used for historical research. 1. Universal bibliography. 2. National bibliography. 3. Trade bibliography. 4. Subject bibliography. Specific bibliographical research, including the following. 1. Analytical bibliography, which is concerned with the physical description of the book. 2. Textual bibliography, which focuses on certain textual variations between a manuscript and the printed book. 3. Historical bibliography, which deals with the identification of original editions. Problems in historical research. 1. Deciding how much data are enough. This tends to be a relatively subjective decision. 2. Improperly selecting data. Briefly stated, the historian must avoid improper or faulty selection of data. 3. Relying too heavily on secondary sources of information. This is particularly likely in studies not dealing with relatively recent events. 4. Investigating an overly broad problem. This is difficult to avoid because the historical issues tend to be complex. 5. Failing to evaluate adequately the historical data and their sources. 6. Failing to interpret the data. 7. Reading the present into the past, even though the historical data may not support such an interpretation.